Hi, my name's Alex from BrushQuirk Painting. I'm back with another quick video today. This time, rather than a painting or a hobby technique, I'm going to be going over a technique and a new material for stripping paint from your miniatures. It's a lot better for the environment and safer for you than nitromors or brake fluid or acetone. It's a lot quicker and easier than Dettol or Simple Green or anything else I've ever used really. So I've got a handful of miniatures from different ranges, made from different materials, in different stages of painting, and we're going to give them all a go, and you'll see how how quickly it takes the paint off and how it reacts to the materials underneath. Okay, so first things first, I've got a few examples of models that I've stripped using this stuff. As you can see, they've come almost entirely clean, and this was after maybe 2 hours, not even soaked, just after being dunked in. So with the troll over here, you can see there's a slight bit in the armpit there, as that was mainly due to the fact that I didn't end up getting the actual compound in those gaps. But with the metal models, on this troll over here, you can see there's a slight bit of primer just in the gap there, again where I didn't get the compound. And in some of the very fine gaps, there's a slight discoloration going on, a slight dark grey. But again, that's probably due to the primer. The slag troll in the middle here, he was undercoated white and then had a few heavy coats of yellow on him when I got a hold of him. And you can see that's almost entirely scrubbed off. And there's even been no damage at all to the green stuff that was done, and a slight bit of white primer left in some of the features. Again, it was done using Halford's primer, which in the past for me has been notoriously difficult to get rid of. So I'll go over the materials that we use now. Okay, so the materials and equipment that we're going to use for this one are pretty straightforward. I've got a Tupperware lid here, a bunch of models that need stripping from different ranges, a couple of really crappy old brushes here, really bristly ones. As you can see, some of the text is actually missing from the Army Painter brush there. That was this stripper's work. As well as that, we have BioStrip 20, which is the stuff that we're going to be using today. As you can see, it's water-based, so it basically just dissolves and goes down the sink. It's really, really safe, basically. We can see on the back here, it's got some directions. You basically, for stripping models, need to dip your miniature in, take it out, shake off a lot of the excess, or let it drip off really, then pop it onto a surface. I've got the Tupperware lid. As well as that, it's non-toxic. I would not recommend eating it though. And it's also safe for skin. The only reason I've got a vinyl glove on at the moment is because I have slightly dry skin on my hand and I really don't want anything unpleasant getting in there. So, I'll get everything set up and we'll start dunking some toys. Okay, so I've got everything set up here. As you can see, I've got everything a little more compact, so we're going to start dipping our stuff in and leaving it to sit basically. So we'll take the lid off the BioStrip here. I'll try not to get any on the desk. And then we'll choose what we'll do first. So I'll start with the Troll Mauler at the back here. This has had a couple of coats of paint on it, a couple of coats of primer in fact, and then a dunk in. So to start off, we're literally just going to go straight in, like that, and try not to drop it. So we've gone right up to the base there. We're going to pull out and let all that unsavoury goo drip off. So I'm going to get in with the brush there into some of the bits where the goo hasn't quite gotten to. Just around there, and a touch on the back that didn't get hit either. And in fact I can see in the mix here some of the paint's already starting to go, some of the wash from the spines is already dripping off and sloughing off. So we've got him nice and covered. We're going to pop him just down onto the tray. So that's our first one done. So I'm going to go through the rest. Let's do this one next. This is a resin miniature from Spartan Games. So we're going to see how the BioStrip reacts to that. So again, dunk in. Get it nice and covered in all the crevices. Like so. And again, it's already, you can see there with the yellow, already starting to take the paint off. So again, we're going to move that away, pop it down. Let's go with a Games Workshop Finecast piece. This one's not painted, but I mainly wanted to see just what the reaction was, as I don't think anyone's documented it yet. So I'm going to dunk in, pull out, and I'll leave this guy just half done. So we've got a comparison for before and after there. So I'll pop him down nicely there. And over here, one of the Games Workshop cultists that I painted a while ago, standard polystyrene there, so we're going to pop him in, get him lovely and covered. The base as well, as if the biostrip doesn't take the grass and sand off, the water will at the end, as it's PVA glued on. So we've got him covered there. Get some of the excess off our brush. Pop him down with his friends. And for a metal model, let's go with this Trollkin Fellcaller. Again, just dunked in, pulled out nicely, everything's covered there. So that a little bit around the back. Let it drip a little more. And we'll pop him down. So I'm just going to go through and do the rest of the pieces I've got here that I want to do. Some are in components already. I've got another troll mauler over there. Others I'm just going to dip in whole. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to go through now. Okay, so everything's been dunked in the biostrip now, and we're going to leave it to sit for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then we'll give it a quick rinse off and a quick scrub in the sink. I don't know if you saw during the video, but some of the paint was already starting to drip and slough off as we were dipping it. On the blue troll over here that I've got stripped, you can see that just with a little prod with a toothpick here, the paint is slipping off. Same at the back here, we can just almost peel that off already. I know if you need to strip quickly, you can probably leave it for about 10 minutes or so, because I don't want to have to redip these guys. I'm going to give them the full time. So we'll come back at about an hour and a half by the sink, and we'll give everything a bit scrub off, and yeah, we'll have our bits. Okay, so we've got our lovely bits now that have been sat in the goo for about an hour and a quarter. So there's a few bits we're going to need here. We'll need some scrubbing brushes. I've used a nail brush and a couple of toothbrushes. Make sure you don't use any that belong to your siblings or other half or anything like that. As well as that, I have some washing up liquid here just to help ease things along. So we're going to just get started. So if I pick a piece of the mauler from before, you can see that even just rubbing, the paint's coming off. So we'll get stuck in with a toothbrush. Okay, so I've come back the following day and everything's had a good bit of time to dry now, and I've got a few examples of what we've come up with. So first off, with the Games Workshop polystyrene, we can see that it's come sort of totally clear here with no damage at all. The other thing is, I realised I actually superglued the sand to the base, and rather than lifting that off, it has in fact stripped the paint from the sand, which is quite impressive that this stuff is kind of delicate like that. The grass has survived fairly intact, but I'd probably rebase this guy anyway. We also have the Privateer Press PVC plastics. They've come pretty much clean like the others did. There's a few bits of white discoloration from the primer, which was Halford's, and I've mentioned it's pretty stubborn to remove. So they've come out really well. And amazingly, the metals, it's probably quite bright, but you can see that they are as good as new, really. If someone sort of gave me one of these, I wouldn't know that it had been painted, and it's come off like this. The only thing is, one thing I have noticed with this stuff is that where there's been superglue previously, it tends to discolour the superglue and sort of stick that on. And what we can do for that is just chip that off with a tool or a knife, and you can see just where I've done that it's clean. So I'm going to go back over on this mauler, this troll mauler, and just get all the dried on bits of glue off before I rebuild him, because it's not that pleasing. So those are the examples that strip brilliantly. Again, like what I mentioned before, there's a few little bits of discoloration and a few bits of primer and some of the coat sort of stained left in the very sort of finest recesses. But with a little bit of stubborn picking with a pin on a stick, you can get rid of all of that. Okay, for a few that didn't go so well, we have the Spartan Games resin and the Citadel fine cast here. The first one I'll show you is the fine cast. What happened here is it's softened the fine cast down to basically rubber. We also lost one of the spikes off the back in the process because it's very sort of fragile, very springy. It basically feels like rubber. I would not recommend using it on this. In fact, you can see even further on the back there that we've gone very sort of flexible, and it's even just being sort of near to it has affected the tail slightly, but a lot less so. So no, I wouldn't recommend this on fine cast at all. So he's going to be going in the bin now, really. With the Spartan Games resin, what's happened is it seems to have sort of softened the top layer of resin and made it very sort of sticky. This is after sort of 24 hours now. It's sort of sticky to the touch, and as well as that, it's softened it in places, so you can sort of scrape a layer of resin off with your thumb, just with no effort at all. Again, sort of rubbery. The other issue is it wouldn't lift the primer at all, which may have contributed to the stickiness there, but a lot of it I think is down to the resin, as you can sort of just sort of pick away at it with your thumb if need be. So again, wouldn't recommend this stuff on fine cast or resins, full stop. Polystyrene, PVC plastic and metal, all good. Resin, less so. And finally, we have a bit of an example of what happens when things get slightly ugly. Now, this is another piece from Privateer Press using their same PVC plastic here. As you can see, the paint on this originally was very, very thick. It had had sort of 2 full paint jobs, 2 coats of primer, and it was looking pretty rough before it was stripped. What's happened is in the crevices, there's a lot of build-up that wasn't shifted with the first sort of hour and a half soak. So there's no damage done at all to the miniature, but what I'm going to do is give this a second round just to get all the stuff out of the gaps. This is even sort of during the cleaning process. I was picking away at the paint, but it basically hadn't been touched by the biostrip. So yeah, that's the example of that. So overall, we've had a few brilliant results here, well, mostly brilliant results, a couple of duds that I would avoid, and an example of what you might need to do if your paint is particularly heavy. This is the kind of thing you might get if you're buying bits second-hand off of eBay and they're a little bit caked in paint. I've not tried it on enamel paints either, but I imagine the most sort of miniatures you'll be stripping will be acrylic paint. So that's everything for now, and I'll be back soon with another tutorial for you. Again, if you feel free to like and subscribe if you like the video, and if anyone has any ideas for what they'd like for the next tutorial, please let me know. You can also find us on Facebook or Twitter. So I'll see you next time. Bye.
Have you seen my toothbrush?
No.